So the new season is upon us. Celtic kick off their 2022-2023 season against Aberdeen this Sunday. Here are the three things that I want to see from Celtic this season. Before I get into the actual contents of the video, I want to say a massive thank you to the folks over at the OneFootball app who are sponsoring this video. The OneFootball app is your one-stop shop for all your football goodness. If you want your fixtures, results, squad updates, injury updates, and most importantly in this season, transfer updates, the OneFootball app is the best place to get it. On the OneFootball app, you can subscribe to the team you support and get all your news on that team. No more endless scrolling in order to find some Celtic news. On the OneFootball app, you can subscribe to Celtic and all of your Celtic goodness is available in the one spot, and it's all absolutely free with the OneFootball app. So download the OneFootball app now using the link in the description below. So that was the longest couple of weeks I've ever experienced. I think I was tired at the end of last season and almost worn out by the season that was under Ange Postecoglou last season. Amazing season, it has to be said, but the breakaway has made me miss Celtic even more, so absolutely delighted that the season is kicking off this Sunday against Aberdeen. I will focus a little bit on that game in later on in this video, but I want to talk about the season as a whole and what I want from Celtic, the three things that I want from Celtic this year in particular. So it's a massive season. Obviously the second season under any new manager, under any new system, is probably the most critical in terms of the development of it, whether or not you want to move forward with it, whether or not people have figured you out. So the second year under Ange Postecoglou is either going to be a disaster or it's going to be absolutely brilliant. Either way, I think it's going to be fun. And I don't think it's going to be a disaster. Let's get that straight from the get-go on this video. The first thing that I want to see from Celtic this season is really basic. It's just development from last year. So last year was sort of almost like an experimental year. Celtic brought in so many new players in a new transfer window. It was a new squad. There was 14 or 15 new faces in the training ground, a new manager, a new system. Everything was new, everything was bright, and it took a little bit of time to get going. It did, but once it got going, it was absolutely magnificent. But it was still the first year. You could still see there were some flaws to iron out with the goalkeeping situation. Is Joe Hart going to be pushing up a little bit further with the fullbacks, the inverted system that Ange was trying to play with the likes of Greg Taylor, Juranovic and Ralston? How will the likes of Bernabé fit into that system? And then the development in the midfield as well, losing some key players in near Beaton and Tom Rogic in the midfield. How do Celtic manage with the new boys like Hatate? How's he going to come in and develop a little bit further since he came in and he's finally had a little bit of break from his season? Will he start to kick on? Matt O'Reilly, how will he kick on? Will he continue on from where he started in the amazing position that he started at Celtic? And then can the strikers stay fit? Like Kyogo, will he stay fit for the season? What will happen? All of these questions are to be answered now in the second season. I'll start with the goalkeeping situation. Joe Hart in nets has been speaking about the change in what Ange is trying to get him to do and how that makes him excited, how he likes to be challenged. Even in his older age, he likes to be challenged now to do new things and try new things. In pre-season, we've seen that Joe Hart was miles outside of his goal. This is essentially, it's a numbers game, it's a space game. If Joe Hart is out further, the full-backs and the centre-backs push up a little bit further, condense the midfield, and it's harder to play, firstly, for opposition to play against us in terms of the counter-attack, but it's also much better for us in terms of keeping possession and controlling the game and controlling the pace. And I reckon that Aaron Moy will play a key role in this as well if we do carry on with it. Now last season we saw Joe Hart doing the same thing and we didn't use it much at all during the season because it just did not work. It was sloppy, Joe Hart wasn't as comfortable on the ball, and it left us liable to getting chipped from 20 yards out, 30 yards out. This year is a little bit more scary because Celtic have the Champions League, so will Joe Hart actually be playing further forward? I expect him to be playing a little bit further forward than he was last year, but not as far forward as he is playing in pre-season. I think he'll be playing just at the edge of his box, a little bit, maybe a little bit further out of his box, but no further than that. I can't see him playing up almost in the halfway line like we saw against the likes of Norwich or Blackburn. I can't see that happening during the normal season. It'll be a little bit more tame, a little bit more regressed, but I do think Joe Hart is going to be playing a little bit further forward. Then in terms of the fullbacks, expect the inverted system to continue, I think, this year. Expect it to improve this year, and expect Celtic to absolutely dominate possession a little bit more than they did last season. I know it was a little bit helter-skelter at times, especially in Europa League. I think Celtic are going to opt for a more controlled approach this year. It won't be, well, it will be as attacking as it was last year, but it was very sloppy at times. Some of the Celtics played didn't come off. You know, Hatate, he was trying a lot, often didn't come off. I expect it to come off a little bit more this season. And then in terms of the midfield, Matt O'Reilly, you don't really need to say much about him. He's going to be probably Celtic's best player this season. That's my bet for this season. And then going forward for the forward line, I expect Kyogo to start rather than Giakoumakis, but expect to see a lot more of Giakoumakis as well as the sort of backup option. Not so much a backup option as a rotation player when Celtic need to change the system to suit the team that they're playing against. Expect to see Giakoumakis in the team, but Kyogo again is going to be the main striker as long as he's fit. So I just want to see the cohesiveness of the system played a little bit better, the passing to be a little bit crisper, the passing to be a little bit more accurate. I think Aaron Moy will help with that in the midfield. If he comes in and he starts in the midfield at times or comes in off the bench, I expect the passing to be a little bit more accurate. And I think the likes of Hatate as well, and Maeda, and some of the players that came in and they were playing essentially their second season of the year, I expect them to be a lot sharper. You're already seeing it with Hatate in the midfield. I know it's just pre-season, but you're already seeing that he's a little bit more sharp. He's not as tired looking. He spoke about being tired last year. So these little small progressives that you can get in the system, a lot of people are looking for new players. That's fair enough. Celtic do need a couple of new bodies, but if you can improve what you've got, Celtic are already starting from a very high base, especially in terms of the league. They're league champions. So if you can take the squad that won the league last season and progress them even further in the system that won the league, then I think Celtic are going to be safe enough in the SPFL at least, and if not in Europe as well. So that's the number one thing, is just a little bit more progressive on the system and on the players and on the overall outlook of the club. Can they improve from last year's base? That's the number one thing that I want to see from Celtic this year. Number two thing that I want to see is the aforementioned Champions League football. It's scary, I get that. There's going to be a lot of big teams, there's going to be a lot of hard teams, there's going to be a lot of hard games. Celtic have not done well in the Champions League in recent years. They've had some big results, but they've not done well. They've not progressed. In European football in general, Celtic have not done well. And this is the year I think Celtic will make inroads in the European football. Not in the Champions League necessarily, but in European football. The number two thing that I want to see is Celtic making progress in Europe. That is playing better, that is not getting thrashed 7-0, that is being in a competitive game and not parking the bus. Ange Postecoglou is not going to park the bus regardless of who Celtic are playing against. So they're going to be an exciting team. I think Celtic are going to be one of the most exciting teams to watch in the Champions League this year. No matter who they're playing against, they're going to go out and attack. They're going to try control the game. They're going to try score. That leads to exciting games, especially when you're on the counter-attack. In the Champions League, all I want from Celtic is not to get thrashed 7-0 again. That's all I want. I don't think it's going to happen, but it has the possibility to happen. It does have the possibility to happen, given the teams that we're playing against and given the attacking nature of our game plan. But I think Celtic will score. In terms of what I want to see, like I said, just progression from where we were at. European football has not been kind to Celtic. They did all right in the Conference League last year, but they still should have did better. I think Europa League post-Christmas should be Celtic's aim this year. Champions League is a little bit hard. It's a little bit in the wayside. I'm not being defeatist. I'm not saying Celtic won't qualify out of the group, but I am saying it's going to be difficult. So my aim would be to be in the Europa League post-Christmas and make some inroads in that competition as well. If you look at the other side of Glasgow, if they were able to do it last year, Celtic should be able to do it this year. Europa League should absolutely be what Celtic are focused on, are trying to progress in, are trying to make inroads in. And I've always said this, I'm sick of repeating myself on this channel about this. If Celtic make progress in Europe, then they will make progress domestically. Domestic will take care of itself if Celtic are competing with the best of the best in Europe. or the second best of the best in Europe, as would be in the Europa League. So that's my number 2 thing to see this year. My number 3 thing is a little bit pessimistic of me, but what I want to see is the continued connection between the club and the fans, and continue to develop that, enhance it, bring them closer together, even if things don't go well. So let's just assume things don't go well this year. Under Neil Lennon, it got very nasty. The club separated itself from the fans. COVID was going on. It was not a good time to be a Celtic supporter. It wasn't very fun. Felt disconnected from the players, disconnected from the club, disconnected from the manager. It felt like they just didn't care, and it felt like the fans were angry. What I would like to see this year is, if things don't go sparklingly well, because Ange Postecoglou has set such a high standard that when things go mildly wrong, people seem to be angry. Like with pre-season, for example, when Celtic weren't playing amazing football, people seem to be really pissed off online. And when Celtic aren't making transfers, people are obviously, the online presence isn't very nice either. You need to back the team regardless of whether they're doing well or doing badly. Fair criticism is absolutely fair, but slaughtering players, that's not for me. So if things go wrong, I would hope the fans would still get behind this team, because it is a developing process. Things are not linear when it comes to development. It's not just an upward curve like that when it comes to football development, especially when you're in the second season. So I want Celtic fans to support the team and back the team, even if things aren't going exactly well, even if they're going like this, even if it seems like Celtic aren't going to win the league, still get behind the team. And that goes again for the club as well, that if things aren't going well, if fans are unrest, speak to the fans, communicate with the fans, let them know that, everyone in the club is pretty pissed off with what things are going on right now. But we're here, we're trying to development, we're trying to fix it, and not just, toss the players to the side like they did under Neil Lennon. So that's the number 3 thing that I want to see from Celtic this season, if things go badly. But like I said, I don't think they will. I actually think Celtic will do very, very well this season again. So just finally, on the Aberdeen front, the first game of the season coming up this Sunday, I think it's a big game for Celtic. The Liam Scales Derby, I heard they are calling it, and it's important to get off to a winning start. Celtic started slow last year. They started a little bit iffy, eventually got it going, eventually got some momentum and finished quite strong. I like Celtic to actually start as they mean to go on, get the momentum going early, so that way you're carrying it in to the Europa League. In terms of the game itself, I expect Celtic to win it. I think Celtic are in a better place right now. The team that I expect to see is probably the team that you saw against Norwich in the last game of the pre-season. Very, very sharp. In terms of the new boys, I think maybe Aaron Moy might get a run out in this game if Celtic are winning, just to bring a little bit more control into the midfield. Not too sure about Maurice Jens, whether he'll get a start. I think Stephen Welsh might well get a start at centre back if Starfelt is again not fit for this game, and I think Celtic will win. So that's the game this weekend. There's a more detailed breakdown of the season coming and of that game as well on the Huddle breakdown, which is on this channel as well. If you want to get that, you can subscribe to the channel, or you can get that on podcast as well on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast. Big season coming up this year. I would appreciate all the support on the channel by downloading the OneFootball app with the link in the description below, and by leaving a subscribe, dropping a comment, and bring on this season. We'll chat to you later, folks. Good luck.